Right. In this video, I want to talk about why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. I don't think that there's enough attention drawn to this. This is the reason why right here. This is basically sums it up. The average investor is not even coming close to matching S&P 500 returns over 30 years or more. And there's various reasons for why this is happening. We have cash out balances under 1,000. So they just mail you a check, and then people get the check and they don't know what to do with it because they don't understand how to invest. There's safe harbor IRAs. So these are when you get over 1,000, but prior to 2024, you didn't reach the minimum to stay invested in the plan. So they can just kick you out and throw you into what's called a safe harbor IRA. So they can no longer send you a check. That number has now grown to 7,000 with the Secure Act 2.0. However, the Secure Act does offer auto portability, and the Retirement Clearinghouse, which is a big provider of safe harbor IRAs, is advocated for this. They're obviously making money off of this, but they are auto porting to the new 401k if your new employer has one, so that you can stay invested and stay in the system, so you're not sitting in a cash investment. Savings accounts, money markets aren't going to grow over 30 years. And then we have lack of auto enrollment, which the Secure Act 2.0 fixes this problem. Anybody who's been hired on at the beginning of 2023 or later will all have to be auto enrolled in the plan uh, beginning in 2025. That's for all new hires to 2023 and later. And then there's a lack of retirement plans through small businesses. This is changing now. Even restaurants in those types of places can start offering them through Paylocity. They've partnered with Fidelity. You can look this up on Google, and they can offer 401k plans uh, with the help of Paylocity, which is an HR outsourcing. Okay, so now let me show you. Let's see here. Let me bring up. And then if you just Google S&P 500 calculator, and then go down to this one right here, this takes you to their main calculator, and then there's a different calculator. Um, Here we go, reinvestment calculator. So this is the URL right here that I like to use. Okay, now by default, it's going to calculate taxes. This is dividend taxes. So this is not capital gains taxes. This is dividend taxes. You do not pay dividend taxes in a retirement account. You pay ordinary income and with traditional IRAs and 401ks when you take them out. And then management fees. Well, you can get a Vanguard or Fidelity or Schwab index fund for next to nothing. So I'm going to ignore those. Now, I'm going to go back to 1984. And let's just see how much $2,000. So if you adjust for inflation, right? I said it was 5,000 prior to this year. That would probably be about what a $2,000 investment. Say your college job from 18 to 22 would bring you. You're throwing away how much money does that say? Eight Does that say, let's see, eight, 804, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought that number was, yeah, have to put a zero here. So we're just calculating just that number. Look at that. Over $154,000 is going to go automatically to a safe harbor IRA 6 months after you leave your job. And if the participant does nothing, and there's a lot of people that just do nothing, right? They just ignore the investments. They don't panic when the market goes down. They don't get excited when the market goes up. They don't have they just don't care, okay? There's millions of people like that, and they'll just leave their money parked in a safe harbor IRA in a money market account. That account will likely grow to maybe 4,000, 5,000. It's not going to grow very much. Compare that to this number, okay? Now, imagine every 4 years you can save $2,000 and not hit this let's say in the past you didn't hit the $5,000 maximum, or you didn't hit the or a minimum to stay invested, stay in the plan, or now $7,000. Every 4 years, you're throwing $150,000 away for yourself in 40 years. Now, can you imagine? Now, remember this too. When you're 35, you still got to invest for your 70s, right? You got to throw a little bit of that towards your 70s. Your 20s, you can save up for your 60s, right? So just imagine that you're throwing at least $100,000 away every 4 years you keep doing this. So say if you're a job changer for 4 years, so it rewards the people that stay with the company for a long time, and it also favors the very wealthy who go over that amount, but maybe they're still the person who just doesn't pay attention to the stock market. So I think when you look at now, here's another thing I want to show you too. I think when you look at this, we can conclude um, that it's this that's causing the inequality, not taxes, not campaign finance. But let's just take the worst possible economy, right? March of 2009. Yeah, I'm gonna switch this to March. And look what this says. This still is getting over 10% a year. A $2,000 investment still turns into over 35,000. Now, if we back that up to 40 years, which is what I had the interval on before, so now we're going to 1969. And look at that. Now we're up to $53,000. Okay, so it's only about a third of that other 40-year interval, but that's still throwing a lot of money away. You do that every 4 years, you're throwing 50,000. You're just you're turning you can only turn 2,000 into a maybe double, maybe triple in a cash account over 40 years. You're throwing this much away. How much does 2,000 go into this number? A lot more than a lot more than 4,000 or 6,000 or whatever the number is that you'd get in cash, right? Okay. Now, let's check out the other crashes. Remember 2002, that was the tech bubble, right? So let's go to 2001 and let's switch the month to December because that's when the market bottomed. We're looking at the worst possible time here. You would have lost $2,000. You would have lost money, and it would have turned into, I mean, you're, 15, whatever that says, 1,500 and something. Okay, now let's back this up 30 years. So 2002, we're going to go to 1972. And look at that, 41,000. Now, let's say if you're in your 20s, um, you want to look at how much money, say at 22 to 62. Look at that. That's over $100,000. Again, you do that every 4 years. And you just that keeps going to a safe harbor IRA into a cash investment 6 months after you leave your job, and you decide not to roll it over. You get that letter, and you just don't do anything. You just ignore the letter. This is what happens. Your 2,000 is going to turn into maybe double or triple over time, where this is how much money you would get if you just stay invested, even in a bad market. Okay, another really bad time for the market was 1974. That was also in the month of December, and we can look at how much the 1-year return got, right? The 1-year return, look at that. Terrible. That is um yeah, another another downward trend in the market. Okay, now let's go back 30 years. Are we getting the idea here? To 1944, hit calculate, look at that, it's over 10% again. Turns into over 35,000. And then let's go back 30 years and we get 9%. Again, you do that every 4 years, you're throwing away a lot of money. But just take any random year, just take, I don't know, 1983 and just go back to 1953. Let's see, I have to go up a little bit and take a look at that. You're throwing you're throwing this much money, and that's just over 30 years. Now go back 40 years. Say you're in your 20s. That's when this really stings, right? You're over $132,000. I mean, say it's just your college job, you threw $500 a year away. Well, that $500 a year, which accumulated to $2,000, will turn into over likely turn anywhere from 50,000 up to $150,000, depending on how the market does over that period of time. So, do you want to know how the rich get richer and the poor get poorer? Look at this list again. The cash out balances under 1,000, 6 months, that's 6 months after separation of employment. Safe harbor IRAs, which is a cash investment. That's all they have. It's you cannot open a safe harbor IRA. Safe harbor IRA is triggered 6 months after you leave your job. It's a place where the 401k provider dumps your money when you don't have enough in the account to stay in the account after you're no longer employed. And then, like I said, auto enrollment, that's kicking in 2025 for everybody who was hired on in 2023 or later. Portability, the Retirement Clearinghouse has said that at the end of this year, I think in October, all the major 401k providers are going live with this auto portability. That hasn't been the case in the past. So those safe harbor IRAs will no longer be an issue as long as your new employer has a plan though. And hopefully that won't become an issue soon because this is just getting started. This has not been very widely adopted yet. But again, Paylocity does have a partnership with Fidelity to offer 401ks. So I hope this answers the question why the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. Uh, there's nothing that comes close to this, guys. I'm not saying we shouldn't ignore taxes. I'm not saying we shouldn't ignore corporate welfare and all this other stuff. Um, whatever, welfare for people who are not working, all that kind of stuff. Okay, all that stuff is fine. But if we're not talking about this, then we're not serious about closing the gap between the rich and the poor.